So, Sri Lanka is going through oil crisis, and because of that, a lot of things are happening in that country right now. Let's talk about those things. Sri Lanka has long been doing a lot of infrastructure, big infrastructure projects from with the help of credit lines from China. China has, you know about BRI projects similar to that happened in Sri Lanka, and Mahinda Rajapaksa, when he was the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka before he has been dispensed from his responsibilities, he took on a lot of big credit infrastructure project that Sri Lankan government could not repay the debt. So what happened in Hambantota port, where they had to sell off the port to the Chinese government. So this kind of infrastructure projects happened in Sri Lanka for years. Now what happened because of that is the government didn't have money to repay those loans, or they took on that credit had gone out of hands. It becomes unmanageable. Now what is the solution in this kind of situation is that the IMF, it offers help in the condition that the following country accepts the kind of changes in their policy making regarding how they manage their debts and how they manage the foreign exchange. Because in Sri Lanka, the thing happened is that their foreign exchange is so low right now that they cannot even buy the oil. Their oil reserve, yesterday I read the news that the oil is only for 5 days. This kind of thing is happening. So government could not buy the oil, or because of the lack of foreign reserve. So in this kind of situation, IMF put on some terms in front of the country to accept those terms, and only in that case the IMF they proceed with loans, the help, which is the help which comes as a relief package, not package, actually fund, but it's kind of a loan in the condition that the government, the following country accepts the conditions that the IMF puts on. And one of them already happened with Pakistan some years before ago, maybe in I don't exactly remember the year right now, but it happened with India as well, and the year is very famous. It happened in 1991 when India got through the liberalization phase, when Manmohan Singh was finance minister and PV Narasimha Rao was the prime minister. So it already happened with India also. So the question is, IMF haven't released any fund yet, any relief package, any relief fund yet to Sri Lanka, but so how they are managing to run their country when their foreign exchange is so low? So they're actually happening with the help of Indian government. Indian government is pushing the credits to the government to buy oil, required medicines, or food packaging, whatever. You may also remember that some months ago, most probably, or last year, I think, when there was water crisis in Sri Lanka, so government of India helped Sri Lankan government with shipping of water packages. So this way government of India is helping, and also Chinese government has said they will give credit to Sri Lanka, and US also have talked about assistance. So before the IMF could actually possibly help, So these countries are helping, and India is actually in the front line of helping Sri Lanka as of now. Apart from crude oil crisis, there are other crises in Sri Lanka also, like the cooking gas is unavailable, and people are standing in long queues for a long time to get the supply of gas. And there's another major policy decision mistake that the government had made, that they overnight stopped the, though they actually later withdraw the decision, they overnight started organic farming. They overnight stopped the use of fertilizer in agriculture. So because of that, later they withdraw the decision, but by the time the damage is already done, and the food crisis is happening in Sri Lanka. So there is no food, there is no medicine, and there is no oil for the people who need it. And even though people have money in their hands, they cannot buy it. So this is a really big crisis, for though the Sri Lanka is a smaller country, but it's not a poor country. Like there are a lot of other poor countries in the world, in Africa, but despite that, it has gone through this, it's going through this major crisis right now. And one of the reason could be because of the tourism flow that happened during Corona. But despite this, the bigger things are happening on the major policy decision mistakes that the government had done, that they are big infrastructure projects. Mostly they are a failure. They're not really worked, and they're not generating the revenue that government had estimated that they would generate. So it's kind of a loss for the government in making. So now, what are the next procedures to the Sri Lankan government to survive this crisis? They have changed their prime minister, but it is not going to make a lot of difference on the ground, because the president is still same, and they are actually from the same family earlier. Like Mahendra Rajapaksa was the prime minister, and Gotabaya Rajapaksa, his brother, is the president, and still he's the president. But anyway, they have changed the prime minister, but it's not going to make a huge difference on paper. The balance of payment is screwed. Balance of payment is the export import balance sheet, which normally a country's balance sheet is actually the kind of export and import happen on daily basis. The country keeps this on balance sheet. So that is kind of screwed for the government. And what should government do is the only option left for now. They are working on the credit loans from Government of India, but in future the only way out is IMF bailout. So if the Sri Lanka is ready to take on the policy changes in their financial system, then the IMF will probably going to bail out the country. So every time IMF bailouts a country, it puts on lot of rigorous things in place. So the similar thing happening in kind of similar, yet it hasn't really exactly happened yet. It's happening in Pakistan, where actually this kind of governments like Pakistan, Sri Lanka, I don't know exactly about Sri Lanka yet, but they give fuel subsidies. Like in India, it's on kerosene, but in earlier we also might have give it, but right now it's not there, the fuel subsidy. So Pakistan recently abolished the fuel subsidy to escape their also situation is kind of similar. So escape the situation that they don't also want to go the Sri Lanka line. So similar type of things happened with happening with Pakistan government. So let's see how they face the situation. They already increased the fuel prices, so let's see how this things works. But overall, we will be looking at Sri Lanka for now. People have already started to escape from Sri Lanka. Like there are huge lines on before the passport offices, and people are trying to go to another country for better fortunes, like in Middle East most probably. So this is a very serious thing. It could go out of hand, and there are a lot of possibilities will have why it actually happened. I think I will try to dissect it in future, edition of this cover, you know, coverage.